Good morning, everybody, and thank you for getting up early and joining our Munch and Learn. So you're welcome to have your breakfast whilst you're listening to us talk over the next couple of minutes or so. But, I'm really pleased. We've got a really exciting topic today on artificial intelligence. So I've got 1,000,001 questions. And if you are listening in here or watching in, please type any questions that you've got into the chat at the bottom, and then we can answer those for you as we go. But firstly, my name's Gary Hales. I'm an action coach based down in Dorset. You're probably aware, obviously, action coach, the fact that you're dialing in here, but I cover across the whole county, obviously helping business owners improve their business and achieve the goals that they want. And as part of that, we have our No Limits community, which this is all linked through to, where we're aiming at helping business owners to learn and develop and grow. So it's a membership community where we encourage people to get involved with and ask questions, participate, and learn. So I'm going to move into now the session that we've got. So I'm delighted to welcome Dan Smith from FWX. As I say, he's an expert in artificial intelligence. So Dan, let me just kick off by asking you just to sort of introduce yourself and a bit of a brief background.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gary, and good to join you all this morning. I must caveat to say expert in this field is quite a stretch, but before I kind of pick myself too up, I founded and run a digital marketing agency, which I've been running for the past 16 years. My background is within the kind of marketing communications field. So I previously ran a company called Clockworks and then set up Fireworks back 16 years ago. We work with a whole host of different clients, global clients such as Thermo Fisher, who you've probably never heard of, but are a 40 billion revenue turnover business in the pharmaceuticals industry, all the way through to clients like AXA, who you potentially will have heard of, through to kind of SMEs and startups, some of which might be on the call today. And obviously what we've seen over the past last year in particular, is there's been an explosion in artificial intelligence, and it's made a huge impact. It's making a huge impact in a number of different areas, one of which is marketing. And I guess that's where I'm specifically talking around today, is the impact of marketing and sales and how that can potentially impact.
That's great. Thanks, Dan. And I guess sort of with the clients that I deal with, they've sort of heard of artificial intelligence, know a little bit about ChatGPT, but it's all up there in the future, not quite sure what they need to do about it, what they need to learn. So I'm really keen to get into that sort of discussion is, what do business owners need to learn around artificial intelligence? Are they behind the curve? How quickly is this all moving? How do they apply it to their day-to-day job and generate more income? But I guess to just take a step back again, I'm assuming there's a wide range of people with knowledge on AI listening in, and obviously to the recorded version later. But just let's start off at the basics then, Dan. What does AI mean for business owners? What does it stands for? What does it cover? Just give us a bit of background and context for this.
Yeah, it's a really widely used word, AI. In short term, in abbreviation, it's otherwise known as machine learning, and this is where computers and or robots, as is kind of outlined, are learning from data, and data that's obviously already out there in the kind of known area. So ChatGPT is kind of mentioned, for example, there, when it first launched, was using equivalent of about 160,000, I think, initially data points. That is now into the millions and billions of data points, where it is learning and adapting to information, and that is then being utilized across a number of different areas. In ChatGPT's example, that's across a lot of content that is currently being generated as one part of that. But it's also being used in a number of different areas. So what we'll see is, for example, it's being used to help with advertising creative or websites, in a marketing term, where people can create websites from scratch based on sort of almost formulaic set of data that is being used. There's a great article which I'm really happy to share with everybody that the BBC produced, which is "What is AI?" And what I'd probably recommend is for anybody people or listening on video later is to have a look at that link where it gives a very, very simple guide as to AI. They actually used animals to kind of describe the different elements of AI. And so, for example, ChatGPT can be seen as or chatbots can be seen as a parrot. In some regards, and how different animals represent the different types of AI out there. So it is a vast amount of stuff out there, a number of tools. I mean, as soon as I'm here, there'll be another set of tools that are coming online, and it is a minefield, like you say.
How to use AI for marketing.
Yeah, absolutely, AI for marketing. But I mean, as you rightly allude to, there's other AI tools out there specifically for different types of businesses in different ways. Microsoft have obviously taken a huge investment in ChatGPT, and they're integrating that into a suite of their business tools. So people are obviously very, very excited by the opportunities that it can bring.
So is that the key then, Dan? When you look at AI, again, from a business owner's perspective, is the fundamental impact on a business owner an ability to be able to market more efficiently? Is it around marketing that's the real benefit of, learning about AI and bringing it into your business?
I think it's got much wider repercussions than just marketing per se or sales. I guess where we come at it from for clients is we're looking at it very much with a lens of marketing and sales. And I guess in most of the cases, it's around making things more efficient. It's looking to speed processes up, or in some cases replace maybe where you might have paid or involved a human to do something. An example would be, for example, as you referenced there, which a lot of people might have dabbled in, is ChatGPT. You would have typically either commissioned somebody or paid for or done it yourself, written some content that might have cost you either money or time to produce. I guess that's where AI specifically is looking to, if you like, enhance that by speeding that process up and to a degree cutting that secondary person or your own time in doing.
Yeah, I've got to say that's the main reason I've used GPT so far, is writing articles and doing, normally it take quite a bit of time to research it. You're just asking GPT now then, and it'll answer for you, and then you top and tail it and adjust it so it looks like it's coming from you and not a computer. So that's sort of the main bit I've used. I mean, what are the alternatives to ChatGPT then? Because I keep hearing there's loads out there, but is ChatGPT the main one still? Is that the market?
Yeah, there are a number of different tools for generating content out there. Google have got an assistant called Bard. There are a number out there. ChatGPT have kind of become the front runner, I guess. They're the kind of they're the one that have captured the current awareness, I guess, of the kind of general community. Another tool that is worth looking at from a content perspective that we've looked at is Jasper. So one of the things I would highly recommend anybody kind of viewing this is to check out Jasper. And what I would say actually with any of the AI tools, and we've done our own kind of marketing guide, which we just pulled together, because a lot of our clients came to us and said, heard a bit about ChatGPT, is that the one to use? Is there other ones that might be worth looking at? And we've put a guide together of a number of the kind of, if you like, front runner tools and done some comparisons. So ChatGPT is part of an ecosystem called OpenAI. And so ChatGPT is just one part of a set of tools. You may also have heard of a tool called DALL-E, or DALL-E 2 as it now is. And that is an image generation part of that tool. So in a similar way to ChatGPT with regards to content creation, and not just content creation, but also other tools as well, such as research and other things we can get into. DALL-E works through image creation. So for example, you could say, I want to create an image of a person sat in front of a window with some trees behind them, and it's sunlight, and that will generate a series of images to reflect that, which are not necessarily real images, they're computer generated. Back to content, Jasper is a really interesting tool because what we found, and we have used this ourselves with a few clients now, and for our own purposes, it will create a suite of content which is written in a particular type of tone.
What does that mean when you say written in a particular type?
Sorry, I lost my computer, blacked out there.
Okay.
What I mean by a pixel sense, so you could say, for example, I want to inject, I want to become a more conversational piece. I want it to be written from a particular perspective. What we talk a lot about with clients is, different clients and different businesses have a way of communicating. So some can become very kind of be, how would I put it? They'll be very authoritative in the way they talk, or very sort of serious. Other clients will be much more conversational, a bit more playful in the way they like to communicate, and so inject a degree of personality, I guess, within the content. And I guess you'll see this in places like social media, for example, where you want to portray a particular type of personality across, rather than just this is the information read in a very kind of official way. So I'd highly recommend playing with some of the playing. I guess playing is one way to look at it, but trying your hand at a few of these tools, because there are a number out there, and I think that they're becoming more and more sophisticated. And we are really only on the very start of the journey with this. So yeah, I would say Jasper absolutely is worth looking at. Also, just kind of another tool in the kind of content area is one called Ad Creative AI, which is designed to help, again, both create content, but also display ads, things like that you can use through social media, etc. And it would be worth, I think, with any of these tools, literally people just investing an amount of time and experimenting. I'm not sure what the different use cases will be on from the people today, or on, they might be looking at the video, but there are so many that it's worth considering how these may impact and improve what you're currently doing from a marketing and sales perspective.
Dan,
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
If I create a piece of content, let's say for blogs or for websites, I generate those using ChatGPT. How likely are that content or that website to rank on search engine?
Well, this is a really good question. So you're talking about like ranking with regards to search engine optimization. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the many things that ChatGPT can help with is with regards to creating content which is search engine optimized, and so you can use that tool with the more prompting and the more you put into it, the better it will be. But you can actually use that tool to add information to make it so that it's search engine optimized content that you're creating within that content, which you can then use for example, an article or blog that might sit onto your website that will help overall, and also the overall content of your site. So you can actually use those prompts to make it so it's optimized for search for particular key phrases you want to be seen for. In our cases, for example, that might be artificial intelligence or marketing or that digital marketing services, and that will be part of what you would input into ChatGPT as a requirement.
Thanks, Dan. Just going back on a couple of bits. Just Jasper, is that Jasper?
Jasper, yeah. So
Darley, Darley, or
DAL. So I'm going to get this. I've written some of these out so that I can make sure I'm also giving you the correct information, because it can get confusing. So Darley is DALL-E, and it's and that's, let's say, that's part of OpenAI.
Yeah.
And Jasper is Jasper. So I can give you just a brief kind of synopsis on some of those tools, if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can go in any order we want to. But just to talk about Jasper, for example, so it claims, and it have to kind of use their own marketing to a degree to kind of clarify how they position themselves, but it claims to have created the world's largest content marketing community with up to 100,000 users. And so basically, it's a pretty simple idea, is that you would enter a brief for a job, or you pick a template for the content you're creating. So that could be a blog post, or it could be Google ad copy, or say a LinkedIn bio. And those are just a few of the kind of templates available to pick from. And it will use the info that you brief in as well as kind of what it deems relevant. Create kind of content on the internet or response to a brief, and it takes literally seconds to do. And I think it's what I'd say is that with all of this stuff, the content is as good as the inputs that you put in, the brief that you set, but also it probably helps to have a understanding of the topics you're talking about, because not all of this stuff is always 100% accurate. So what, for example, I've seen a number of different people reviewing, for example, ChatGPT, saying, well, okay, I've asked it to review the latest iPhone, for example, and give me some information about that. And the information that's being presented back actually isn't always the accurate information to do with that latest release. So it's pulling on information that's already out there to a degree to formulate that. So if you're asking it to, we did one, for example, recently where we asked it to compare how we would write a marketing strategy in comparison to it writing a marketing strategy for a client. And there can be some disparity. If you don't know all the information, you wouldn't know that there is anything in there that would be incorrect. So Jasper is absolutely worth checking out. It's really good from our perspective. The text can be verbose at times, but you can refine it to add that kind of character into the kind of content. And it can be great if you're trying to push stuff out on different content areas. Great for SEO, great for Google. So definitely worth trialing and checking out how that kind of responds.
Is that free, Dan, like ChatGPT, or do you have to pay for Jasper?
So with a lot of these things, so Jasper, I believe there's a small amount you have to pay to kind of subscribe to it. But I think from memory, I think it's maybe a few dollars, might be $15, something like that. A few of these kind of typically have a free element. You can trial it for like a month, and then you might have to subscribe to, say, a $15 ones. Other ones you have to pay a small amount of money to kind of trial it out.
And is that similar with DALL-E, is it?
DALL-E, yes, so that is similar with DALL-E. Just to talk a bit about DALL-E. DALL-E is, as I mentioned, is an image generation one. There's kind of two front runners, as far as I'm concerned, that we've had a look at and we feel are established. That is DALL-E on one hand, and another one called Midjourney. Midjourney is very, very similar to DALL-E, but I would actually say is the more proficient of the two with regards to image generation. We actually did some benchmarking. We gave some prompts. So, for example, one of our clients is in the kind of private medical space, and we wanted to create a scene which was a patient having a consultation with a doctor in an office environment. And the results for for Midjourney versus DALL-E were remarkably better, in our opinion. And that one kind of works on a refinement basis. Now, again, the questions around, things to consider with these things are, on image as well as content, is where is this content coming from, is the question that we've been answered. Now so a few of these, both Midjourney and DALL-E, have some pretty big disclaimers upon them. So what we have said to clients before is, if you're trying to recreate an image of let's say two individuals having a conversation, and you wanted it in a particular style, it is pulling from a database of content that is already out there and then reformatting that content together. What they both say is you're taking the risk on using that content in that instance. So what I would say to anybody listening is just tread slightly cautiously with regards to the type of image you do. I think it's one thing if you said, I want to create a abstract, a pumpkin, for example, as it's Halloween. That generally speaking, that's fine. But when you start putting people's faces into things and they're kind of utilized and used, maybe missed on a mix of imagery, clearly there may be some infringements where the image has been taken from somewhere else.
Okay, interesting. I've got a client who's does website design, and they're telling me this is completely changing that whole industry, because basically, you don't need the time and effort to put a whole website together now. You can do it virtually through, I guess they must be using DALL-E and all these other ones. Is that true? Do we still need the same sort of website design that we needed previously, or is there a different way of doing it now using AI?
Well, that's a really good question. Again, it's something that there are a few front runners in this space. Again, two that I would recommend people check out are Durable, Durable, and another one called Framer, Framer. Framer probably for us is it would be the better of the two currently as it stands. So both of those tools are website creation tools, and they're kind of, this top line sell is you can create a website in a matter of seconds. The way they both work are they're using templates. Both of them are using kind of predisposed templates that are created. So for example, if I was Action Coach and I said I want to create a website, my company is in the field of for example training and development and a business community, and I want to create that, it will take that top line information and it will spin up a home page and an about us page just using generic content that it feels is relevant. So it will put in, a top area where a homepage carousel might go. It will put in a bit of blurb, a copy that's just made up, and it will put in some boxes underneath to talk about services. And it's really just making up. You then, as a user, could then go in and either edit each one of those areas, refine those areas, and or change the entire skin of that because it's kind of done in a particular style. And it could change it, for example, to be a more traditional face, a more modern typeface, and all of that stuff gets put into that mix. So again, for most of our clients, it's not something that we would ever necessarily build on because for those that would looking for maybe something that's really just a sort of relatively very low cost option to create a website, it does present a number of opportunities and options for them. Again, so those are the two that I would say are worth having a dabble with. I think if you are in that kind of, starting up from scratch, there are obviously other sites out there that people might have heard about, like One-on-One My Website or Wix, for example, which are strongly advertised. They're similar. They're kind of built on templates, but what this AI is doing is just kind of trying to, if you like, cobble those together without someone going in and physically saying, I'm looking for that template. They're kind of trying to do that, and they'll put testimonials in and things like that. So worth checking out if you're in that kind of space.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dan. I'm just conscious of time because we could go on for hours on this. No doubt. So, you said at the beginning, this is changing constantly, and it's actually quite scary as to how quickly this is all moved on. Where do you see this going? And what I look at it and think of, like, lawyers and accountants, their jobs must be under threat from all of this because there's a lot of the research and etc. can be done a lot quicker. So, do you see any sort of industries or sectors that are under threat here?
Yeah, 100%, including our own. I think to quote, I think Rishi Sunak came out recently and has said, and there is a big AI summit that the UK is hosting relatively soon. It's probably as big, if not bigger, than the dawn of the Industrial Revolution and also the dawn of the internet. I would probably say it's got the potential to be more transformative than that. I think that I don't think there's a single industry right now, even though people try and predict where the industries won't be impacted, that won't be, even through to kind of doing manual labor jobs, because I think that if you, for example, in construction, it's the least digitized of all the industries to a degree. There's a huge opportunity for AI to improve that. From a legal perspective, definitely, scanning contracts, that kind of stuff. You can imagine it will be scanning for particular type of words where you've got a contract review, or it might be you're trying to put in for example, if you're going through, writing a will, you can imagine that these things are going to be absolutely generated through an AI because it's based on information that is gathered and gleaned and put forward to you. So yeah, I think there's going to be a whole host of different industries that are massively impacted. I do think that there's going to be fallout with regards to employment. And I know that people talked about the internet changing things and people were worried that was obviously going to impact the jobs market. I think it will. I think it will have a massive impact. I think the fact that, for example, in our own industry, if I know that, well, in the past we might have employed a full-time set of content writers, but I can get, Jasper, for example, or ChatGPT to kind of, to a degree, fill some of the blanks in that, and it costs me a fraction of that overall cost, then there will be certain roles, I think, which will inevitably go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dan. Last couple of minutes then. So I just want to put a question to you. What are the 1, 2, or 3 things business owners must do, must learn now to either catch up or get ahead of the game? Because it sounds like there's so much to learn. I mean, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 or 8 websites you said is worthwhile looking at and understanding. But if we would take away 1, 2, or 3 things for people listening and watching this now that they go away, learn about, or whatever, that will help them with their business, what would you suggest or recommend?
Oh God, that's a really good question. I mean, what the first thing for me would be, I would absolutely be experimenting and getting to understand a number of the tools that I'm kind of talking about today. So for example, if I just took ChatGPT, which we've mentioned a few times, that has got, beyond just creating content, if you asked ChatGPT what it does, it can cover things such as audience analysis, content creation, keyword research. It can act as a chatbot on your website. It can do predictive analytics. And on and on. I would highly recommend, if people haven't properly experimented with that, to go and experiment with it more thoroughly. And I would say that across a number of different tools. It's only going to continue to grow and develop further. And I think that even if you've got an initial understanding, I would invest a series of time just getting my head around the different tools out there. I mean, I'm touched on maybe a handful, but it is countless amount of AI tools. In fact, I downloaded another guide that an American AI company had written, and it listed another 20, which I've not even touched on today, from voice creation to video creation, to creating presentations, if that's the kind of thing you struggle with. So I would highly recommend they spend some time creating that. I would currently look at where the current cost centers are within their business, so where they're currently doing things. So if you're employing, for example, a marketing agency, someone like us, to kind of do stuff, kind of what's that overall investment you're currently making? Are there things that AI could be doing to help either make that more efficient or bring some costs down, those kind of areas? I'd also be looking at some internal processes. How do you handle things, for example, like, do you have a customer contact area on the website? Could that be handled through a more sophisticated chatbot? Those kind of things. Those are things that I would be experimenting with right here and now. And there's a number of online content about this from a number of different well-trusted sources. If you're working with an agency, I'd probably reach out to them just to kind of see, because a lot of agency land people like me are currently very much vested in understanding how to get ahead. The internet caught a lot of people out in the early days, and people almost, agencies in particular, behind the curve on it. And I think everybody's learned the lesson on that. So that's what I would say.
Okay, that's great. I mean, just picking up just as a summary, really, I think the first thing was the BBC article. You said, "What is AI?" is probably a good place to start.
A really good place to start. I mean, I'm like I say, I'm not an expert in AI. I would hate to profess to be that. I think there are people that are, but that place is really good. Just from getting a very, very simple way of understanding the different forms of AI.
Okay, great, excellent. Yeah, and as you said, the others were Jasper, DALL-E, Ad Creative AI, Midjourney, Framer, Durable, as well as obviously ChatGPT. So there's quite a few there for people listening in to go and quickly do a search and find out all about that. So, so that's great, Dan. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. How can people get hold of you if they've got some questions for you? I don't see anything in the chat at the moment.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. So if people want to get hold of me, you can reach out to me on email. So it's just dan@fwx.co.uk, or our website, which is just fwx.co.uk. We've got our guide, which is free to download, so people can look at that and read through it. Well, we've kind of done a bit of a sanity check of those different tools. That's probably the best way to kind of follow up if anybody's got any further questions.
That's great. Thanks, Dan. And thank you very much for everybody who's dialed in to watch, and those who are going to watch the recorded version. Thank you for taking the time. Very insightful. Thanks, Dan. Really learned a lot. And if any of you are looking to obviously work with a coach at Action Coach, then I can be reached at garyhales@actioncoach.co.uk. And please join us on future Munch and Learns. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day and a great week. And thanks once again to our guest, Dan. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everybody else.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.